Okay, class, welcome to today's lecture. And I hope you have studied some basic concepts and understanding about the scientific method, some background about your research topic, how to choose the topic. So I'll be starting off, and I'll be talking about research conceptualization and operationalization. So the first part, that how to actually if you have, let's say, chosen your topic and you have, let's say, come up with your objectives. So the first part is how to achieve those objectives. The first foremost part of your research is, and admittedly, I will say that yes, that is one of the most difficult part, and that's nothing to be worried about. It happens with everyone. For it also happened with me during my own research studies. So it takes a very long time and very critical thinking behind your research, as well as a good grip on literature. The better grip you have on the research literature, the better you would be at visualizing or envisioning basically how you will actually achieve those objectives. So making objective, using the research topic and making your objective, that is conceptualization. And how to achieve those objectives, how to actually convert your research from theoretical part to actually something practical, or from which you will now know that what data you need to collect. How will you collect it? How will you analyze it? What sort of data do you need? What sort of experiment do you need? What sort of materials you need for the particular experiment? That is called operationalization. From from theory to conversion into something practical. Operationalization, that is one of the most difficult part. And I must say that in your research papers, if you are hoping to write it in the end of your research, that is one of the biggest question raised by the viewers, that how, okay, this is your objective, this is your idea, this is your concept, it's very good, but how are you going to test your concept or your idea? Testing that, testing your hypothesis, testing your experiment. Experiment is of course conducted after. So how will you test your idea? That is called operationalization, and one of the most important part of your research. And that part will actually guide you in conducting all of your research. So my lecture, being you are from different like say fields, but your main concepts or the main idea behind conversion of the theory into practical is operationalization, and that you will go through it anyways. So I have a very generic lecture of giving you some ideas what is operationalization and what is conceptualization. If you know it, then please bear it with me, and let's dig into it. Okay, so yeah, so I hope we've gone through the choosing of research topic, and let me just give a quick review of that. That because your topic is very important part, that is also very difficult part, and that needs to be that actually guides your conceptualization. So how do you pick the topic? Okay, now different students have different methodologies, right? So some of them are like just thinking about something is actually doing your research. Let's talk about that. You are going to buy a new mobile, let's say. So what are you going to do? You're going to look at the specifications. You're going to look at the color, maybe the brand. So what are you doing? You're doing basically research. This is research. Before buying anything, if you just Google something, you're doing research. So everyone is one way or another in this modern era, everyone is doing research. So just academic research is not so much difficult, although it's a bit systematic, a bit logical. It follows a scientific method, a scientific inquiry method, but at the core of it, the essence, the basic, you can say, core. Okay, I would use is same. Researchers. Okay. So how do you do? Maybe you are in the classroom. Maybe you are having some kind of classroom discussion. Some lecture is going on. You are discussing it. The school is maybe in your university. There is a particular research themes already is there. Maybe there is some problems you have identified in the community or in the society, and you want to use it. You want to find a solution for that. You might heard that problem, that these things basically are influencing you, education as well as your experiences. So maybe your experiences would help, and even your teachers. when they're teaching something, students ask very genuine questions, very good questions, and that really come into my mind that wow, that's a very good question. I should know answer to it, but I don't have it. So that means I need to do some research. And maybe then I say, okay, if I am not clear about this, maybe I'll ask my student to have a research on this topic. He or she will also understand, and I will have an also a basic understanding about the concept, and that way I will improve my teaching style as well. Okay, some class discussions, maybe some brainstorming session is going on in the class. Maybe you or two or three friends are talking together, and that will ignite something. Maybe you will use that. Maybe some seminar is you are attending it, workshops, from presentations you are attending. So that might help you. So one of the reason is that please do attend the final defenses of your seniors. That will really help you in igniting or instilling some kind of idea in your mind that okay, this is thing I want to do. And some people, so like if you're a cat, like you're doing a research or you are getting very good marks in some particular subject, or you might have a very profound understanding about certain things, how certain things work. That can also help you in choosing such topic. Internet, okay, internet is there. You will see social media is there. A lot of issues there. You can easily pick it now. And now during this pandemic era, there are a lot of conferences already already live on the internet. Online conferences are there. And I myself, who cannot find time to travel for these conferences, found it very good that okay, this is the best way that okay, I'll join the conference online and I'll learn something new. So I'll encourage the students to go for online courses, even Coursera and everything. That will give you an idea what to do your research in. Okay, some exchange of ideas with professors, reading assignments, consultations. Now, of course, consultation with your advisor or your faculty member or your GEC, that will really also help you in your research topic. So the best topic is like maybe you want to challenge yourself. Maybe you have your experiences, past experience. Maybe your job is concerned with certain thing, certain issue, certain your job description is like that. So maybe you can choose which is very much related to you. You can get information about the data about it, something fancy, something very in nowadays. Maybe something already pointed out in the current literature, right? And some, right, really, you like to solve problems. Some are like that as well. So, so as sometimes research grants are given by the institutions like HEC. They give or grant challenge funds. There are a lot of funds available in the international. Like let's say talk about internationally, Melinda and Gates Foundation. So they give funds for the research, but it has certain topics already given. These are the themes they want to do research in. So if your theme is matching with them, maybe your advisor is aiming for that funding. So maybe you can align your research with your ID, your advisors, and then maybe opt for the funding and get financial benefits as well out of that. Okay, so these were just generic checklist. Just think about it. Can you do it? Is it ambiguous? Is it feasible enough to do it? Is it significant? Right. And one of the main things which my student at least ask is that should we replicate a study which is conducted in some other country? Can we replicate in case of Pakistan? So for engineering, the study which is conducted in America or Pakistan, maybe a slight change in materials or processes, should we replicate it or not? Well, as you might have gone through the scientific method, replication is a very necessary part of the scientific circle. So replication actually endorses that research is being conducted is is uh, uh, is good or is robust enough that you think okay that it's good research. So replication is necessary. But if we are aiming for a publication in the later stage, then we also need to think about something about novelty, something different. And let me tell you, that is another difficult task to do to find something new. Uh, Research is conducted at a very fast pace all over the world, and most of the topics which I research, I usually find that it's already been researched on. So I try to take out of that gap out of it. So some characteristic of good topic, it should be interesting, researchable, significant, and manageable. Very good point is manageable. That student, you need to know your limits as well. Know your limits of your advisor. Know the limits of your own labs. your equipment, know the limits of that. When you know the limits, you will very easily manage your research. So uh, that's also I encourage students that okay, think out of the box, but still think that is it feasible enough to do that or not. So that's one of way of doing research. Yeah. Any question till now? Any questions? If you cannot hear me properly, if you want me to switch to Urdu, I can do that. But if you're comfortable, I can. Any question? If I'm speaking too fast, maybe feel free. Raise your hand and feel free. I hope you're understanding everything. If there are two possibilities, either you are understanding everything or you're not.
Sir,
Uh, yes, so
sir आपकी वॉइस थोड़ी सी शॉर्ट कर रही है अगर आप वीडियो बंद करके देखिए शायद ठीक हो जाए
okay, okay, okay. Anyone else having issue of my voice? I think anyone else because South, I think that might be issue with your at your end
यस
because
सर
I
मुझे भी इशू आ रही है सर
यस सर इशू है थोड़ा सा सर
okay okay let me
हेलो
yes Manzoor please. Yes, raise your hand first and then I'll call for your question. Yes, Yasir, please.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Is a problem statement the most necessary part of the research while doing a research, or is
Actually,
it not
when
necessary one?
okay, Yasir, actually the point is in research everything is important because it has a process. So you have to go through one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing. Of course, problem statement is important in this scenario because problem statement basically justifies your research. A problem is there, right? So if you write a good problem statement, that will really justify you in choosing your research objectives. So even if you're writing your paper, your thesis, the first paragraph, first chapter, let's say, is your background, introduction. That is problem statement basically. So in introduction, you are basically telling about this that this is the problem. For example, let me talk about. I am basically my research is very on disasters basically on flood risk management, and in urban areas. So I start with my problem statement with like climate change. Climate change is happening. So my problem statement is okay. I'll start with climate change. Then I gradually start talking about urban planning and poor urban planning in Pakistan, poor haphazard development in Pakistan, and that results in floods. That is why flood topic is important in case of Pakistan, and therefore my objective is to check the flood risk reduction measures in Pakistan to evaluate this and that. So I think personally, as well as some many researchers, they emphasize that problem statement is the starting part of it. So I would, of course, every researcher has their own, uh, I would say, how they tackle it, how they approach a problem, how they resolve it. Everyone has their own style. But I personally feel that this problem statement is very important because that gives you the groundwork for your research. So yes, sir, are you clear?
Sir, one more thing. Sir, there are many publications that do not include the problem statement or basically the research, what is the problem is in the research, and they usually start with the introduction, abstract, and then conclude with the
Okay, okay,
conclusion.
okay. Okay, okay, I got your point, Ayasir. Basically, problem statement is you're talking about maybe the heading. Problem statement means that you're writing something in the if you look critically, that introduction portion is itself talking about the problem. So let's not talk about the literally the words, literal meanings of the word. That okay, problem statement is a heading. I need to write two paragraphs. No, no, no. That I'm just Problem statement does not mean this. Problem statement is some sentences which describes your problem, and that can be in your introduction section as well. Even in abstract 2 lines sentences of problem is there. So maybe you're confused about maybe using the word heading. Yes, sir. Are you clear? Am I getting?
Sir, but
you?
I viewed some 2 to 3 papers. They have also included that research statement or research problem statement in addition to introduction and abstract.
Okay. So yes, research statement is probably, I think that is hypothesis. That is, I think, objective of the study. So problem statement is something you use the word sometime, but you should not use it in the literally in the paper. आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है, अगर आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम फेस हो, लेट्स से आपने प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया, उसको उसमें लिखना जरूरी नहीं है कि ये प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट है, लेकिन टेक्स्ट में ये बताना इंपॉर्टेंट है कि दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम, यू नीड टू डू दिस. सो वो इंट्रोडक्शन में लिख दें, आप लिटरेचर में लिख दें, मेथोडोलॉजी से पहले एक पैराग्राफ में लिख दें, वो आपकी मर्जी है.
Okay.
Yes. Any other question? And then we can like go on. There's no question. Okay, great. Okay, then let's talk about conceptual framework. Okay, so sometimes your teachers or your GEC members ask, what is your idea? What do you want to do? What is, tell me in two sentences. Tell me in a short form, what you want to do. And if your teachers or your researchers, they ask this question, student, usually they become confused. So to tell them that you need to know about the concept, what you want to do. You are going to do a research on certain things, certain phenomena. Let's talk about the word sustainability. Okay, जी मैं sustainability पे काम कर रहा हूँ. Okay, क्या काम कर रहे हैं sustainability? Sustainability is a very wide term. It's a very diverse, very multifaceted, very multi-dimensional. Okay, so just saying that I'm working on sustainability, that is really will tell you that you have no idea what you're going to be doing. So आप उसके लिए सोचते हैं कि let's okay sustainability. What do you mean by sustainability? We assign meaning to that word. Okay, sustainability. मैं बात कर रहा हूँ sustainable construction. Again, okay, sustainable construction, very wide. Sustainable construction में क्या चेक करना चाहते हैं? Okay, then we call it okay. I have an idea that okay, that's an abstract form which cannot be really measured, but it's just an idea. Okay, but we need to know about the concept. So we say okay, concept sustainable construction. I'm talking about how institutions are basically managing constructions in the field. How development. Okay, let's talk about how CDA is ensuring that the construction practices in Islamabad are following their building bylaws. Okay, so okay, now you're working, you're using concept of sustainability, institutions, regulations. So these are the concepts. Okay, that will help you in designing your objectives. So what is a conceptualization? Is a process by specifying what we mean by a term. So जब हम specific कर देते हैं कि इस word को मैं इस तनाजुर में देख रहा हूँ, that is called conceptualization. And that is important part. It is a clear verbal description of phenomena. Like these are some abstract words: sustainability, poverty, corruption, risk. How do we measure it? How do you conceptualize it? Risk किस चीज का risk? Sustainability किस चीज की sustainability? Poverty की different definitions. So what poverty? Then, is there any international student in our class? Because I'm switching to Urdu. Anyone?
No, sir.
I heard.
Yes, there are.
Okay, okay. Because someone told me there is some students international. Okay, so I'll stay with English. I just got it. Yes, thank you. Uh, yes, Jamal, you want to say something? Okay, I'll stick with English. So yeah. So conceptualization is. I will go back to the words conceptualization. I'll talk about that. Conceptualization is like we are assigning some definition, specifying some kind of definition to the word, understanding or giving a true meaning behind it. So the words of sustainability, poverty, these are very vague. These are very vague terms. So you need to know by what do you mean by sustainability? Is it institutional? Is it social? Is it economical? Is it environmental? And even if environmental or sustainability we're talking about, then we even need to define it one step further. So you're breaking down the concepts into something. So once you break it down, maybe you'll come up to a certain point that you say, okay, this thing is measurable, something doable, something which I can experiment, do some kind of survey, do some kind of statistical analysis. So you need to narrow it down. So that is conceptualization. So the word conceptual framework, the word the word conceptualization is often supplemented by I'm sorry, I cannot understand you if you're asking me question or is that like your mic is mute, unmute. Uh, so kindly raise your hand first. Okay, so conceptualization. So conceptualization is often supported by the word conceptual framework. So what is a framework? Framework, a model, a diagram, which is supporting your whole of your research. So that is called conceptual framework. So, so what is a concept? Concept is an idea that is in someone's mind, and framework is like pulling it together and forming a plan. So conceptual framework is essentially a plan to pull all your ideas together, sum up all of your ideas together into one or two sentences in some word even. That is conceptual framework. It is, and how can you conceptualize certain things? How do you pull ideas together? Of course, by having some kind of theoretical definition behind it. So, what is sustainability? Sustainability is defined as meeting the needs of today's, so not to compromise the future needs. That is the definition of sustainability. So conceptualization is basically you're pulling out from the theory and then maybe making your own idea, mixing it together, and you're now conceptualizing it. So, and that conceptual framework gives you what sort of research you want to do. Maybe it will give you certain ideas that, okay, this is what you want to achieve. Now this will directly link to your objectives. And then now we can start the next phase of operationalization. Uh, then focus of the study, it really helps you in focusing or justifying your research study. So these are the concepts, and these are the only thing you need to be concerned about. So you're trying your limit, you're trying your, I would say, scope of the world. So that this is the circle, and I will only do research whatever it is in the circle. Otherwise, if you are not defining your boundaries, you will see a lot of researches related to you. So you might say, oh no, I should do this or should I do this? So you need to be clear about designing or marking your boundary. Okay, so conceptualization, I'll start with the, let's me talk about, uh, yeah. So that conceptualization is often supported by different dimensions and indicators. So dimensions is basically a group of indicators. Now that is very much related to social sciences, but you might be able to use it. So, okay, this is a conceptual framework. Okay, so now I'm talking about, okay, I'm doing research on tourism. Okay, tourism. What tourism? I'm talking about sustainability of tourism. Okay, good point. How do you define sustainable tourism? Okay, I want to some economic, social. I want to see from social aspect tourism, and maybe from economic aspects, then environmental aspects. So now you are conceptualizing it. You are breaking it down into different parts. Okay, social sustainability, economic sustainability, environmental sustainability. Then you talk about, let's talk about economic sustainability. What do you mean by economic sustainability? Okay, I want that people should be employed, they should have consistent employment, their income should be good, and income should increase in the long term. So that is economic sustainability. But now you're breaking down economic sustainability into further indicators. So conceptualizing sustainable tourism into three dimensions, that is social, environmental, economic, and then you define the indicators. And that would really help you in understanding that. And then if you plot it on a on a diagram, that is the conceptual frame. So again, what is it? What the conceptual framework? It really helps you, guide you, it limits your boundaries, gives you boundaries, and points you towards your objectives. How do you make it? Of course, you need to have literature review. So better literature review, better with the conceptual framework. So again, another example is concept of poverty. What do you mean by poverty? Okay, I mean poverty can be governed by social factors, economic factors, institutional factors. And how do we plot it? This is a conceptual framework. Poverty is defined by different economics, health, social, and institutional factors. So this may conceptual framework. Now I know what I want. I want to know about farm size. I want to know about the job opportunities. I want to know about, so this is basically from rural perspective. So rural poverty. So I need to know about these things. So how now it is now this framework is guiding me to know what sort of data I need, what sort of data I need, from where will I get it. Okay, so this frameworks is limiting me that okay, this is your area of expertise, this is your boundary, this is your cup of tea, you will not look out of it. Okay, so just focusing on that. So you are defining your scope, your boundary. So that is the real, I would say, uh, advantage of using a conceptual framework in your research. Yes. Again, I will now ask if anyone has any question. Yes, Yasir, please.
Sir, how we can identify our boundaries while doing a research?
Okay, that is again a very difficult part of research because there will be so much research, so many papers that you sometimes get confused that should I do this or should I do that? Well, there are two or three ways I usually ask my students. Firstly is that try to limit yourself by yourself. That okay, I will only look into these. These are the important things identified by the literature. Literature says that okay, is these things are important. Just focus on these things. Maybe do some kind of quick bibliometric review, or I have a read a review paper. Let's. So they identify some of the words or concepts or some issues that are coming in top 50% papers. Just pick those 50% things and say, okay, these are the only 50% things. These okay, there were 20 papers, and out of 20 papers talk about this thing. Out of 20 paper or 15 papers talk about this. Then you know, okay, this thing is very important because 20 papers I read, 15 papers says this is the most important thing, or a very important thing. Okay, I pick that thing out. Okay, and I read next 10 papers. I see out of 10, 6 papers are saying this is important. I pick that thing as well. So maybe two, three different things you pick out depending upon the literature review, and then you say, okay, these are two or three things that I will look into. So that really that will define your scope. That is one technique I tell my students. Second is, of course, your advisor. advisor will know that what are limits, what are the limits of your data. So he or she will say, okay, let's not do this. So that advisor can really help you out. Third is someone has given a theory, someone has already developed a framework or a methodology. They already have published a conceptual framework on this topic you want to do. Just use the same conceptual framework, adapt it according to your needs with full reference to the original framework. You can do research on that. But that is the third and the last step. I discourage students doing that because that is idea plagiarism. So first part is limiting yourself through literature review or your advisor. So Yasir, I hope I'm clear. Anything not clear or something you want to discuss further? Yasir, are you there? Okay. Can you hear me, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, then I will now go into research operationalization. We have talked about we've talked about conceptualization, right? So how do we convert that ideas, that framework we have constructed? How do we actually do research on that? So that thing can be with the conceptual framework. Now you need to measure that. The terminologies you've identified, the concept you identified, now you need to measure it. So conversion from your idea abstract into something concrete, right? This was your idea. This was the theory supported by the theory. Now you know what thing to do, which experiment to conduct, what thing to do. Like indicators you have identified. These are the indicators. These are the data I need to collect. So identification of those indicators, identification of the need, that is called operationalization. So conceptual level, you are converting into your objectives that these are my objectives, these are the concepts, and these are my objectives or hypothesis. And now I want to test this. An association between, like, you're testing the concept, also called empirical study. Empirical means field-based study, on-ground study. So empirical, actually doing an empirical study, doing changing your concepts into something doable, something practical. That is rationalization. Okay, so now there are different types of association. Now, if you're talking about statistics, then of course one variable is then affected by different variables. Okay, even if you're in computer modeling simulations, you also have some dependent things, and you apply different properties on that, and to check the behavior of a certain, I would say, material. Okay, so that is your dependent variable, and independent variables are the properties you are fluctuating or changing to have to check that how much changing of properties of independent variables will affect your dependent variable. So that is your operationalization. So first part, the main part, choosing your topic, objectives, theory, that is only theoretical. You're going for data collection or data processing or data analysis. That part, this thing which actually converts your objectives into something doable, that is called operationalization. And one of the most important part. Well, everything is important research, but this is important because operationalization will help you in saying, okay, these are objectives, this is okay, these are my objectives, and this is what I want to do. That will help you shape your research design. That will shape you what sort of test you need. It will shape what sort of data you need, how will you collect the data, what sort of experiment you need. So that really helps you in designing all these things. So operationalizing in very important step. It really helps you in putting your concepts into practice. So we have defined something from conceptualization, but how do we collect data about that particular concept. So operational definition is used to actually say that, actually measure that concept. That's called operational definition. Like often in research studies, uh, your reviewers ask that give what is your operational definition of the word poverty? Poverty. Okay. My operational definition is people who are living under $3 or no, I'll give you this definition. Individuals or household which are not getting 3 meals per day, or in other words, 2000 calorie intake. I would define that if a person is not getting 2000 calories, less than 2000, less than 2000 calorie intake, that person is poor. So the concept of poverty, I have now operationalized it. I have converted it something which is measurable, something quantifiable, something testable. That is operationalization. Poverty into conversion. So I'm defined poverty into as people who have less than 2000 calorie intake per day is a poor person. So this is how you so the definition of poverty is something people who are living under the poverty line, certain area, people who do not have basic needs. That is very vague. That is conceptualization. But now, if I want to measure who is poor, who is not poor, I have to define an operational definition. So that operational definition is people who are a person not getting or getting less than 2000 calorie intake per day is poor person. So I'm converting my concepts into something measurable, something doable. So, so this was an example, but for your research, now you're going to be your objectives will be diverse. Everyone's objective will be different. Everyone's experiment will be different. Theories will be different. Experiments, instruments, materials will be different. So every student need to define their own measuring experiment to measure a particular concept. And for that, your data requirements will vary. Okay, let's skip this. I'll skip this. Uh, yes. Yeah. So yes, till now, any further question about conceptualization? Sorry, operationalization. Any question about operationalization? Uh, Student, please feel free to want to question in Urdu. That's fine with me. If you want any question, I hope I'm clear. And no need to like put attendance because that will automatically will be generated at the end of the class. No need to message. Yes, class. Any other question? No? Should I go into another topic? Okay. That is uh, limitation of online teaching, that I don't know if students are understanding my point or not. Okay, coming back to the coordination schema. So next topic I'll dive into it. Coordination schema. So coordination schema is basically a plan. You that okay, this is my objective. This is the data I need. This is the technique I will apply to achieve this objective, and this is the point where I will get the data. Let's figure directly. So there are three parts: parameter, complex, simple, and values. I'll go into the table and then maybe you'll notice it. Go directly to the table. Okay, so I'm talking about parameter. First of all, parameter. Parameter can be an objective or a concept you want to measure. I'll give you example of poverty again. Okay, and the complex variable is your dimension you want to measure. Okay, the concept followed by the dimension you need to measure. And what are the individual indicators you need to measure? And what will be the values? What will be the measurement unit? And where will you collect that data from? Making some kind of table. I will show you this table. Okay. So just think about like you have a parameter. Kindly mute. Okay. Yeah. So I was talking about parameter. So let's have a small exercise. All of you take a exercise. Do it by yourself. Do it your home. Do it your own convenience. Think of your objective. Write it over here. Think of an objective and think what sort of data you need for that. What sort of data you will get it from? What will be the measurement unit? And how will you get it? So let's have a small exercise. I will, if someone want to participate, let's talk about someone. I will ask any student to please raise their hand if you want to. Let's have a quick exercise review. Give someone think of an objective, what you want to do in your research. Okay, think about it, students. And you want to say, I want to do this research. Anyone? Class? Anyone? If you want to participate, I want you to work with me now. Or should I call calling names? Okay. I'm not sure if you're understanding or are you there. So a lot of students, no one willing to participate. Okay, class, then I will leave you with this. Think of your ideas, your objective as a parameter. What sort of data you need? What are the data types? What would be the value of the data? And how you collect the data? So that will really help you in understanding that this is how you will be from conceptualization to operationalization. This is the data you need. This is how you will collect it, and this type of analysis you will perform. So again, any question? I was hoping that you will have more questions, but I don't know. You are very good in research, maybe, and I would be good for that. And yes, anyone, if any questions, I'm talking again and again. If any question, please feel free to ask.
Excuse me.
Yes, Jamal, please.
Sir, these things that you have taught us, won't we use that in extensive research during our PhDs or because in masters, isn't it more complex these things that you've taught us?
Yes, Jamal, you are absolutely right. But you know, these are very basic level work. And if you're not clear about this basic level work, I'm very much sure everyone will face difficulty in the research. So, of course, ad hoc research is people are doing that. Ad hoc research is doing rapid. I mean, without any haphazard research, they're doing that. And certain when you reach a certain conclusion, you said, okay, this was a research thing. But that will really waste your time, a lot of your time. So this exercise I use it in my bachelor's level, at my master's level, and of course for PhD as well. For PhD, it will become more complex. You need to be clear about certain small things even. So this is a very regular or very basic level work, I would say. But students, unfortunately, students, they are not following this pattern. And when they are not following this pattern, you will, I'm sure you will have depression in your research because you will not know what to do and how to do it. That is the purpose of research methodology. They give you a kind of a steps. Follow these steps, and it will be easier for you to reach your research, complete your research. But Jamal, you're right. Students, they have everyone have their own, um, I would say, style, and he or she has their own interest in doing how to conduct the research. But this is something substantial. This is something approved by research all over the world. They need to follow these steps. Yes, anyone else? I want questions like this as well. Good. Thank you, Jamal. Thank you for contributing. Anyone else?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Hazrat, please.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Sir, kindly take one example and fill one row so we could understand this whole process.
Yes, yes, that is what I want. Hazrat, so let's take. आप क्या काम? What do you want to do? Let's talk with you.
Sir,
What?
sir, actually, my research started. I have started the research already, and
Okay,
that is
great.
the finite element analysis of pre-stress girder using a Baker software and machine learning, sir.
Finite analysis using a Baker's. Okay. And okay, what was this your? I think I heard you cement, right? Right.
Of pre-stress girder, sir.
Of
Pre-stress girder.
pre-stress. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay. For this, you need the data, right?
Yes, sir.
Analysis, there are different methods, right? Different things. What sort of data you need for that, for conducting this analysis?
Sir, I have decided to have input variables and output variables.
Okay, input you need, and you need
Output.
okay, I'll go there, output variables, right? Okay,
Yes.
what are the input variables?
Input
Just
variables,
give an
for
idea.
example, okay,
Example,
sir,
yes.
I do have cross section of the pre-stress girder,
Cross section. Okay. Anything
material of the
else?
tendon, material of the tendon or
Materials. Okay.
strand.
Material property. Okay. Strength.
Yes.
Outputs. Give me an example. What sort of output variables you need?
Output variables are flexure capacity and shear
Uh,
capacity.
okay. Let's talk about shear capacity. I'm not familiar with your terminology much. Okay. How cross-sectional you think you? Okay. Material strength. How will it be measured? What will be the units?
Sir, yield strength, the megapascals or
Megapascals. Right.
KSI. Yes.
Okay. And how do you measure shear capacity?
Shear capacity, sir. You are talking about units, sir.
Unit. Yes, unit.
Sir, it has the same units as stress
Same
has.
unit. Same unit. Okay. Copy it. So it's fine. It can be copy paste. Okay. How will you do that cross-sectional analysis? What will be the source? How will you collect the data? From where you will get the data of this material strength?
Sir, through numerical analysis in a Baker software, numerical analysis of pre-stress hurdles.
Numerical analysis. Okay. So you need, let's say, software. You need a software for that,
Yes, sir.
right? And for the shear capacity, you also need a software.
Yes, sir, of course.
So what I did, this was a very simple exercise, right? So what I did, I have operationalized your research. Your idea was that I want to do this and this and that. And now I've converted your idea into how will you do it? You will use numerical analysis. This is how will you use to achieve your parameter. From source, you will get these kind of data. Okay. From numerical analysis, you need this kind of data, and that data will help you achieve your objective. So I have operationalized your research. So Hazrat, are you clear?
Yes, sir. I'm clear. You mean, sir, the mm, breaking down of the whole process is called operationalization.
Yeah. Basically, I conversion of your objectives into something doable. So, by in your mind, you are very clear, and it's good. You are clear. But why don't you? If you write it down, you will become more clear. you
Of course,
you
sir.
will you will you will become okay. You will say, okay, these are the simple variables I need. And once you identify the simple variables you need, you don't need to go back to the research papers again and again. Okay, how did they do it? How did they collect it? If you construct this table, you don't need to go back to the literature review again and again. So this is a small exercise, a very simple exercise basically, which will really help you define the scope of your work. Now you know, okay, this I only need a software, I only need indicators, and these indicators will help you achieve this objective. So I hope everyone is clear. If everyone wants to do another exercise, feel free. If you have an idea what you want to do.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Hazrat, please.
Sir, in this whole process, every heading, for example, parameter, complex variable, has in its own importance. But what is the importance of having value? I mean, unit in this whole process.
Okay. Because sometimes, very good point, Hazrat. Sometimes what you do, you need to have analysis, different analysis with different units. So if the units values are different, you need to know that what sort of analysis I need to do. So some values are very important. In statistical analysis, your data is numeric based. Every value is numeric. But in statistics, sometimes your variable can be nominal, it can be categorical, it can be 1 to 5, it can be ranges, right? So for that purpose, you need to write down values, because that value or data type will govern your analysis. They will govern your statistical analysis. So that is why value is important. But your question is very valid. And one more thing, the word parameter, variable, you can use your own words. This is just here to guide you. You can use, instead of parameter, you can write objective. Instead of complex variable, you can cite dimension. You can change if you want to, but this is just a loose table which is called coordination schema, which coordinates your research from objective to your data analysis. Yes,
Right,
Hazrat.
sir. Thank you, sir. I
Clear?
have got it. Okay,
Okay,
clear.
great. Thank you very much. Yes, student, have any other question? If anyone else has a question. Okay, then I think if you have no question, I thought that our lecture would be a bit lengthy, but I think because no question, then I think I'll wind up now. So you can now, if you don't have questions, then you are free to leave the class. Thank you very much. And this is for if you want any more information regarding, and all my lectures which I am teaching in other classes as well, they are also available online. And I don't know how you share this lecture, but if you want, I can upload today's lecture on the YouTube as well. But it's also here in the your. I think it will also be here on your SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint as well. Yes, Saria Khan, I'm pronouncing
Yes,
it
sir.
right. How do you
Yes,
pronounce it?
सारिया खान
Saria Khan. हाँ जी, Saria Khan.
सर सर ये पूछना था, ये जो सर हमने पीछे एक्सरसाइज किया सर, कोई आइडिया है, कोई टॉपिक है हमारा, उसको हम खुद यानी अपनी इस तरह यानी एक्सरसाइज में आसान अल्फाज में यानी एक आइडिया मतलब मजीद क्लियर हो जाता है इससे।
Break down कर लेते हैं. Simple as that. We need just your idea is break down using this exercise.
फिर यही सर एक्सरसाइज हम सर दोबारा अपने सुपरवाइजर को या उसके साथ सर मजीद वो क्लियर करने के लिए हम दिखा सकते हैं कि ये पॉसिबिलिटीज मेरे जहन में आ रही हैं सर, इस तरह कुछ।
Yes. That is the purpose. Yes.
यस
You're
सर, जैसे
clear.
हमने
Well,
वैल्यूज की सर हमने जैसे बात की यूनिट्स की कि इस तरह भी पॉसिबल हो सकता है, इस तरह की हमारे पास जो ऑपरेटर्स हैं या जो मशीन हमारे पास, तो उसमें यानी ये पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं, तो इस पे हम सर मजीद बात कर सकते हैं।
Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah, definitely. So on the left side, you write down your objectives, and each objective will have its own variables, its own simple variables, its own types of analysis. So maybe in the source, maybe you can change its data analytical type, and maybe write what sort of different tests you can use to achieve only one thing. So there are, of course, in numerical analysis, which I've written by Hazrat. Of course, this numerical analysis can have, there are different types of analysis even. So what type of analysis even? You can even break it down further. So more
Yes,
breakdown is that, more easier for you it would be to conduct your research on research. It would be easier for you.
yes सर
Thank you,
इसके
sir.
अंदर सर
जी.
सर ये जैसे अभी सिंपल वेरिएबल है जो भी ये कॉलम्स बने हुए सर, इसके अंदर सर स्लैश देके या और हम मुख्तलिफ आइडियाज इसी एक एक्सरसाइज के अंदर कर सकते हैं, अगर हम दो अलग अलग एक्सरसाइज बना लें तो उनको सर हम दोबारा।
This table is fully customizable. All is up to you. You can change whatever you want to do.
ओके सर।
This is not a hard and fast that, okay, only 5 column or 4 columns. You can add
ओके
more columns, add
ओके
more
थैंक यू।
rows. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hazrat, you want to have another question or something?
No, sir, it was earlier, sir. The hand.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, if you have any problem regarding today's lecture, you can contact me via email, and well, preferably I would having online meetings. So, feel free to ask if you have any question. Drop me an email. And thank you for joining, and thank you for listening to me and bearing with me. So, thank you very much, class. Thank you for joining. I'll stop the record. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.